you but the great black abyss. And when you take the next step, there will either be a step or you'll be taught how to fly. And that is grace. That is, we can count on the gods on our team. Absolutely, no matter what. But it's very, very easy. I don't know about you, but it's very, very easy for me to get caught up in the appearance. I can worry myself sick over things that will never, ever come. And to be conscious, of course, we know that it means we're standing in the presence. We're not looking outside of ourselves for things that just simply don't exist. And I know that that's really hard for me to wrap my brain around sometimes, but the struggle is worth the effort, because each time I have a little bit more enlightenment, I scratch off a little bit more mud off my light bulb, I see the rewards that come from the work that I did. And then I get to share it with my friends and my family, and I watch their lights get lighter and brighter, and perhaps something that I said helps them to feel better. And for me, that's what it's all about. Edwene Gaines in her talks about prosperity says that there are 3 components to prosperity, which tithing's one, commitment to what you want is 2, but the third thing that I want to talk about is doing your forgiveness work. If the thing is that many of us who have prosperity issues, I mean, I'm my own worst enemy in that case, is that I'm judging myself and punishing myself for not being exactly, that I don't fit the illusion or my ego's illusion of who I think I should be. So I punish myself. But Spirit said that we're like an old-timey clock, and that if you take the back off of the clock and you look at the cogs and the wheels and the bands and the springs and all the things that are in there, the springs are small, they're made of brass, there's big steel ones, there's all shapes and sizes of instrumentation in there that makes that clock work. And that is what we are. We're the cogs and the wheels and the springs of what makes this particular time and space in this planet work at the moment. And no matter who you are, what size you are, how much money you have, no matter where you are in your head, you are a very important person in the way that God expresses himself. If you happen to see How Wolves Change Rivers on YouTube, it's a beautiful little 20-minute film on what they noticed happened in Yellowstone when they reintroduced the wolves. And it's absolutely gorgeous if you haven't seen it. But anyway, when they reintroduced the top predator into Yellowstone, the rivers had been overgrazed. There were no trees, no brush, because the deers were down at the valley. So when the wolves came back, it ran the deer up into the areas where the wolves wouldn't come necessarily looking for them. But what happened was the trees started growing, the brush grew back, the beavers came, the birds came. With the reason for the birds, it created environments with the badgers came back, the hare, the ermine, the rats, everybody came back. And what happened is then nature balanced itself to the point that the rivers actually settled in and were able to regain their bed because the roots had taken place, and they were able to, nature was able to balance itself. We can trust. We can absolutely trust. Like Patty said, every single day we get epiphanies of how it works in our own lives. If we can just get that glimmer of awakening, which means that we are able to spot when our ego is self-hypnotizing us again. One of the things that I do when I am working on my forgiveness work, and I've been particularly tough on myself, is I think of what Jesus said on the cross, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." But my prayer is, forgive me, Father, for those unhealed, unconscious places in myself where I don't realize what I'm doing either. And to think, if I was perfect, I don't think I would be here. I think I would be on the other side trying to send good energy to the fools down here. Bouncing into the... Did I tell you I was working on my judgment? So our conscious communion with God as often as possible trains us to listen, and in so doing, be present. And by the way, animals are a fantastic way to learn how to have God laying in your lap purring or barking or chewing on a bone or whatever or squawking in my house or whatever it is. They are fantastic glimmers into God, keeping an eye on us and our animals, reminding us to let it be, to be present and let God do his magic. Eckhart said recently, he said, awakening is when you begin to catch your ego in the game of self-hypnosis. So can you imagine when you're able to have your ego stop conning you and you'll be able to be who you are without fear or judgment or of persecution, that you will have stopped looking outside of yourself for answers that don't exist there. Now that is a shift in consciousness, and don't you think under those circumstances that you will be transformed? Thank you.